Prepare for an immersion into a topic that will leave you with goosebumps. Today we delve into the unsettling world of doppelgangers. Those spectral doubles that watch us from the shadows. Exactly, reflecting our deepest fears. I'm fascinated by the word itself, doppelgängers. It sounds like a whisper in an ancient language, although we know it comes from German. And its literal meaning, the one who walks alongside, already contains an aura of mystery. Imagine that feeling of having someone identical to you stalking the periphery of your vision. It's a chilling image. But beyond the physical, the word evokes something deeper, don't you think? It communicates an inexplicable, almost supernatural connection. Think of the ancient Norse and Germanic cultures, where seeing your own doppelganger was a presage of imminent death. Almost as if your soul was detaching from your body, announcing a near end. And not only that, right? I read that bad luck could also extend to loved ones. Exactly. Imagine the terror that the mere idea of encountering your double must have instilled in those times. It is not surprising that the doppelganger has had such an influence on literature and art throughout the centuries. From classical comedies, where doubles generated entanglements and confusions, to romantic literature, where they acquire a much darker and psychological dimension. Do you remember The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert L. Stevenson? There the doppelganger represents the transformation into an evil version of oneself, embodying our darkest impulses. It's fascinating how the doppelganger becomes a distorting mirror of the human psyche. There are other equally disturbing examples in literature. For example, The Devil's Elixirs by E.T. Hoffmann, where the doppelganger materializes, tormenting the protagonist and blurring the line between reality and madness. Or Jose Saramago's The Doubled Shoulder, where the protagonist meets his exact double with no blood relation. That leads us to deeper questions about identity and individuality. Undoubtedly. What makes us unique if there is someone out there who is physically identical to us? It is a theme that forces us to question the very essence of what defines us as human beings. And the interesting thing is that the doppelganger is not limited only to adult literature. Even in children's literature, we find examples that play with this idea of the double, which demonstrates its universal scope. It is an archetype that resonates in the depths of our collective unconscious, fueling our fears and fascination with the unknown. And speaking of the unknown, how has this concept been adapted to our digital age? Well, in the field of marketing, for example, there is talk of the doppelganger brand image, which represents the negative perceptions that a brand may have in popular culture. It's as if the brand's shadow turned against it, undermining its authenticity and value. It is a sign that something is not going well, that the brand is losing control of its image. And if we delve into the world of video games, we find examples such as the doppelganger creature in the Castlevania saga. That creature that imitates its victims with murderous intentions. An image that fits perfectly with the gothic and terrifying aesthetics of the saga. And speaking of the unknown, how has this concept been adapted to our digital age? Well, in the field of marketing, for example, there is talk of the doppelganger brand image, which represents the negative perceptions that a brand may have in popular culture. It's as if the brand's shadow turned against it, undermining its authenticity and value. It is a sign that something is not going well, that the brand is losing control of its image. And if we delve into the world of video games, we find examples such as the doppelganger creature in the Castlevania saga. That creature that imitates its victims with murderous intentions. An image that fits perfectly with the gothic and terrifying aesthetics of the saga. And let's not forget the Netflix series Curon, where doppelgangers emerge from a submerged church to replace those who struggle with their lives. It is a disturbing metaphor. As if our fears and insecurities could take physical form and end up replacing us. Curon presents us with a vision of doppelgangers as parasitic entities that feed on our weaknesses and our inability to face life. And Jordan Peele's film Us gives us an even more terrifying vision. Doppelgangers are monstrous reflections that seek our annihilation. It is a film that invites us to reflect on the duality of the human being and the impossibility of escaping our shadows. It's amazing how the concept of the doppelganger has evolved over time, adapting to different contexts in media. And what is even more fascinating is that, in the digital age, the possibility of finding our double has become more real than ever. Am I referring to the proliferation of websites and applications that use facial recognition algorithms to connect people with similar risks? Although there is no perfect double, technology allows us to find people with a surprising physical resemblance. Which leads us to a disturbing question. What would happen if we met face to face with our own doppelganger? That is a question that leaves us with a chill down our spine and invites us to reflect on the nature of identity and the possibility that our existence is not as unique as we thought. And with that disturbing note, I think it's a good time to pause. In the next part of our investment in the world of doppelgangers, we will explore some of the scientific and psychological explanations that have been proposed for this phenomenon. Do not go, there is still much to discover. We resume our investment in the world of doppelgangers, now entering the realm of science and psychology. Because after exploring the most mysterious and cultural side, it is interesting to analyze if there is a rational explanation for this phenomenon. What does science say about it? Well, as always, science offers different perspectives. Let's start with genetics. We know that our physical appearance is determined by our DNA and that there are millions of possible combinations. That is, that in a planet with billions of inhabitants, the probabilities that two people share a set of genes that give rise to a great physical resemblance are not so far-fetched. And those probabilities increase if we consider factors such as ethnicity, geographical region, or family ancestry. It is more likely to find your double in a population with genetic characteristics similar to yours. But beyond genetics, there are other explanations. Yes, science also tells us about the phenomenon of pareidolia. It is that human tendency to perceive patterns or recognizable figures in random stimuli. Like when we see faces in the clouds or figures in the stains on the wall. And this could explain why sometimes we want to see doubles where there are none. Our brain is programmed to look for familiar patterns. That is, our own perception can play tricks on us. Suggestion could also play an important role. We cannot forget the psychological factor. Great thinkers like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung explored the idea of the double from different perspectives. For Freud, the double represented a manifestation of the repressed unconscious, that dark part of us that we try to hide. While for Jung, the double was the shadow, the archetype that represents everything that we deny about ourselves. It's fascinating how the concept of doppelganger connects with the depths of the human psyche. From that perspective, the encounter with a double could be interpreted as a confrontation with our own fears, desires, and rejected aspects. Exactly. It would not be just a physical coincidence, but a symbolic encounter with our own shadow. And this could explain the fascination and terror that the doppelganger has aroused in popular culture throughout history. Because in the end, the doppelganger confronts us with a disturbing question. Who are we really? What defines us as individuals? If we meet someone who is physically identical to us, does that mean that we also share our essence, our identity? These are questions that lead us to reflect on the very nature of the human being and the limits of our individuality. But beyond the theories and speculations that exist of the real cases, there are testimonies of people who claim to have met their double. There are numerous accounts throughout history that tell us about encounters with doppelgangers, experiences that defy logic and make us question the uniqueness of our own identity. In the next part of our immersion, we will explore some of these real cases, analyze the ethical and social implications of facial recognition technology, and discover how the search for the double has intensified in the digital age. And we return to our immersion in the world of doppelgangers. In this last part, we enter the realm of the real, of those cases that make us doubt the singularity of our own existence. Because beyond mythology and speculation, there are testimonies of people who claim to have met their double with someone who shares their features in an amazingly accurate way. There are stories that make your hair stand on end, such as that of King Umberto of Italy, who, according to legend, dined with his double the night before being assassinated. A double that predicted his own death and that of the king. It is a case surrounded by mystery that fuels the belief that the appearance of a doppelganger is a presage of death. But beyond the historical anecdotes in the digital age, the search for the double has intensified. Of course, with the internet and social networks, it is much easier to find people with an incredible physical resemblance to ours. Exactly, platforms have emerged that, through facial recognition algorithms, connect people from all over the world who share an extraordinary resemblance. Websites such as Toon Strangers or Family Search, whereby simply uploading a photo you can find your possible double in any corner of the planet. It's an idea that fascinates and disturbs me at the same time. Imagine discovering that there is someone out there with a life of their own that is practically your reflection in the mirror. What would you feel? Curiosity, fear, amazement. It is an experience that can be disturbing, leading us to question our individuality and to think about the infinite possibilities that the universe offers us. And speaking of possibilities, we cannot ignore the impact of facial recognition technology on our society. A technology that, while it has positive applications in fields such as security or the search for missing persons, it also raises serious ethical debates about privacy, mass surveillance, and the possible discriminatory use of this technology. It is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it offers us tools to connect and protect. But on the other hand, it exposes us to unprecedented control. Imagine a world where our faces are constantly scanned, where our identity is reduced to a set of biometric data. A world where technology can be used to manipulate and control us. It is a dystopia that should make us reflect on the limits of technology and the importance of protecting our individuality in an increasingly digital world. And with this reflection, we come to the end of our immersion in the fascinating and sometimes disturbing world of doppelgangers. A phenomenon that has accompanied us throughout history, fueling our imagination and challenging our perception of reality. I hope this immersion has left you with some questions in mind and eager to continue exploring this complex and exciting topic. In the end, the real question is not whether doppelgangers exist, but what their presence tells us about ourselves, about our identity and our place in the universe. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, it would help me a lot if you subscribed to the channel and gave it a like. And don't forget to leave a comment. I love reading your opinions and suggestions to continue creating content that you like.